And welcome to another Master Capstone presentation with the California Master Beekeeper Program. We have Kendal Sager from Sager Family Farm here with us today to present on education and outreach. Welcome, Kendal.
Hello, thank you for having me. So I think with that, I'll just launch into my capstone presentation. So as Wendy mentioned, I'm Kendal Sager, and I am presenting a capstone in the outreach and education track. And my topic is the creation of bee-themed educational resources for kindergarten through second grade students. And I just wanted to start out with a little bit of background about why I chose that topic in particular, because first of all, I am the founder of Sager Family Farm. So what I do is I bring bee-based education into classrooms. So we visit, I think since our founding in 2015, we've gone to almost 400 classrooms with bee education. We bring in observation hives, educational images, honeycomb they can touch, all sorts of stuff. So this is my day-to-day is children's bee-based education. Additionally, we partner with other organizations like the California Master Beekeeper Program, local beekeeping guilds, Girl Scouts, schools, elementary schools in particular are one of our biggest partners. And all of these organizations want and need educational resources. So they need like worksheets, supporting materials. And so I get a lot of requests for this stuff. So the second reason is the availability of these worksheets. So one in particular is just the ease of access for it. And if you do a quick Google search on just like children's bee worksheet, they're all over the place. So there are actually a lot of them. I found this one that says, oh, it's free, bee life cycle, printable stuff. Great. I'm going to click on that. So I get to this web page. Great. I'll click on view PDF. That is an ad. So it brings me somewhere to download something. This whole website about that one worksheet is this long. All of these are ads that like are just in your face. All of these bring you to similar pages that have all of these ads on it. It actually took me about like 10 minutes to find out you have to click right there to download this free worksheet. So it was incredibly frustrating to just find one thing that I was looking for. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is there is a lot of stuff available, but there's a cost to it. So I can actually view that website we were just on for a monthly subscription, which is not very much, but it adds up when you're trying to aggregate a lot of quality worksheets. And you could go to teachers, pay teachers. So there is stuff out there. It's just not all in one place, and it either costs money or is incredibly frustrating to get. And then the third thing that was kind of driving me towards this topic was academic achievement, because especially in kindergarten through second grade, the scientific accuracy of some of these things is suspect. So here are some great bee anatomy things. We've got 2 body segments on here, so no thorax. This one has 4 legs. This one is more of an arachnid over here with like 8 legs. We got wing issues. There's a lot going on. So a lot of children's stuff in particular is cute and not actually science. So that was another thing that it was like, okay, academic achievement, let's work with something real because you can make the real thing cute. Bees are cute. So the other part of that is connection to state learning standards. So that's what the elementary schools want, is they want something that integrates well with their curriculum. And in particular, this spoke to me coming out of COVID because children have fallen even further behind, in particular, those early childhood learners who had no experience with school. So the achievement gap is really needing to be bridged now, and teachers are really wanting this sort of thing. So the problem in general I was trying to solve is easy to access free worksheets that align with what teachers are trying to do in their classrooms. So that brings me to bee-based educational resources for grades K through 2, my project. So those two main goals that I just outlined are, I wanted to create some bee-based worksheets for K through 2 students. So about like 3 worksheets per grade, at least to get us a starting place. And then I wanted to organize them in an easily accessible online repository that teachers could easily search through and just click, download, done. So those were my 2 goals. And I'll start out with the first one, which is the worksheets. So focus on the actual creation of the worksheets. So my worksheet objectives are, I want to connect them with grade level learning standards. I want worksheets for each grade that are appropriate for what they're learning, and obviously to integrate it with honeybees. So integrate vocabulary, words, pictures, or some sort of bee theme so that it's connected to what we do in the Master Beekeeper program when we're doing school outreach. So with the standards, there are 2 main standards I'm working off of. One is the next generation science standards, and the second one is Common Core. So this is what they actually do go all the way up through high school, but in particular for K through 2, these are the 2 main standards that all curriculum is really connecting to. So when you go into an elementary school, these are the standards. Next generation science standards covers things like science, so like life cycles, similarities and differences between organisms or even individuals of the same species, the needs of living things, so what do they need to survive, seasonal changes, which loops in just fine with honeybees, insect body parts, how parents help offspring, pollination is a big one as we start getting up to 2nd grade, and even properties of materials. So you can start talking about surface tension of honey, wax properties when it's heated or not. So there's a lot of science stuff that you can tie into. Common Core covers just about everything else. So for English language arts, if we're doing a bee-based presentation, it's actually like writing standards. So like retelling key details of the presentation, identifying the main topics of the presentation, phonetically spelling unfamiliar vocabulary, which got plenty of that with bees as you're trying to get them to spell proboscis. So even counting by tens, I integrate in a lot of my lessons when we're guessing how many bees could live in an observation hive or in an actual beehive. Using objects to count, we can use like line segments around the hexagons. Naming healthy foods. So when we start looping in pollination, we can name the healthy crops that bees are helping to pollinate. I'm doing a very interesting bee-based program this year, which actually introduces emotions. So we're approaching overcoming fear and anxiety through the lens of beekeeping. So we're talking about, how does my body feel when I'm scared? What does my body do? And how does that scare the bees? And then lead to why I am actually scared of the bees, which is the sting. So I'm actually even integrating emotions into some of the stuff that I'm doing, and character traits, because a beekeeper, maybe beekeepers are brave because we do things that a lot of people are traditionally scared of. Or maybe we're gentle in working with the bees. Maybe we're caring because we're taking care of bees. So there's actually a lot of amazing standards that teachers are doing in elementary schools every day that we can connect to with bee-based curriculum. So that brings me to the second 2 points, which I'll kind of address it at once, which is the creation of the worksheets and incorporating bees into those themes. So I partnered with some elementary school teachers to see what would be most helpful for them. And one of the most key pieces of feedback that I got that I wasn't already doing with my worksheets was creating levels of the worksheet, because especially when we're hitting that achievement gap due to COVID or just in general, if we're in socioeconomically disadvantaged or under-researched communities, different children are at different speeds. So this is my beekeeper character traits worksheet. And so this is something as simple as a student in pre-K could trace, like, beekeepers are brave because many people are afraid of bees. So they can practice letter tracing. They can draw a picture of the beekeeper from their presentation. At the same time, if we're working with a 1st grade classroom, we might have English language learners who are a little bit behind in writing. We might have students that are just not at a traditional first grade level or at the academic achievement of a first grade level, but we can still have them doing all the same task by having different levels of this same worksheet giving prompts, like beekeepers are blank, and providing a character trait word bank for them to choose from so they can choose a trait, and then another prompt of because, and then they can answer that. So that simple prompt allows them to start doing simple sentences. And then at a higher level, you can just give blank lines and here's your word bank of traits, knock yourself out. So this was really important to the teachers, is having multiple levels of the same activity. And then it also addresses, like, we can just call it like pre-K, kinder, first grade material. Additionally, I wanted to make sure I had something for every level. So I looped in other activities and worksheets like Pollinator Bingo, which addresses the next generation science standards of needs of living things. We can talk about what pollinators we're seeing, like bees. We need to find plants that provide both pollen and nectar in our garden or in our community. We have to have habitat for them. So this can loop in native pollinators, native bees, or a beehive. And then water sources as well. So the Pollinator Bingo is a nice little activity for the young ones to get outside, look for stuff, but still loop in our bees. I also have like a blank bee writing worksheet, which these are really awesome when you see them around the classroom, all like colored up and with different little points that they take away. My personal favorite is, like, I think the one that I use a lot when I post things is, like, one of the kids wrote, worker bees do all the things, which is just super cute. But they write all those little fun facts that they know. For first grade, I started looping in a little bit finer motor skills so they can cut out the bee life cycle and they can paste it in there. They have to label each life cycle phase. So they're practicing their writing skills. This is looping in Common Core. Honeybee casts, so they can write the name of each cast. This is looping in next generation science standards of how parents help offspring survive, but usually in honeybees, we get to talk about how it's really the siblings that are caring for the offspring, which they find really interesting. And some of the older siblings are like, oh yeah, I do take care of my little sibling. So they're practicing writing skills in there as well. For second grade, we start looping in pollination. So they can, I've got a pollinator garden list. So they actually go through, they're talking about the different season, what's blooming in each season, what plants are producing pollen and which plants are producing nectar so that they can create effective pollinator gardens, because a lot of these schools do have school gardens. If not, it's still like a nice point to kind of introduce, like, this is the need of the living thing in our environment. And then I also have a pollinator count sheet, and this is more of a citizen science activity. It loops in great with the Great Sunflower Project of pointing out, where are you seeing pollinators, what kind of pollinators, how many pollinators. So it's looping in a lot of those math and science skills that they'll need later on. So these are just some of the worksheets that I created for this project. So now we've kind of covered, I got some worksheets, now I gotta put them somewhere. And my background in undergraduate is actually in computer science, but you don't need a computer science degree to do what I did here, which is what I want to highlight, is the simplicity of this setup and how easy it was to do for anyone who can drag and drop. So I created an online repository for the worksheets. It's totally free. It has these little search boxes up top of the topic, because I do Sager Family Farm, I mostly do bees, but I've got like monarchs and some other things in there. So you can choose bees, butterflies, just pollinators in general. So you can choose a topic. You can choose a grade level. So if you're a first grade teacher, you can just pop in what's appropriate for first grade. Because a lot of my worksheets have kind of a range that it might work for. So this will at least pop up what should cover the first grade range. And then subjects. So the subject drop downs are things like literacy, science, math. So what grade topic are you really looking for? So that's the repository that I have created and is live on my website right now. And all of this was created through Wix, which is just a drag and drop editor. So you don't need to know how to make a website, really. It's just like drag all of these elements onto the page. Very easy to maintain. Under the hood of that repository is really just a spreadsheet. So you can easily enter any of these things. So for each of my worksheets, I have the title of my worksheet, I have the grade levels, I have the actual document that can be downloaded. So it's just put out there in that spreadsheet. I do have like little thumbnails so that they can be displayed. So everything about one worksheet is one line of my spreadsheet. And the searchable topics, I have columns for each of those. So I have the topic of like bees, pollinators. So I'll tag that in the row. For the grades, I have each grade level tagged. And then for the subject, I'm also just putting that in a column. So you could create any searchable category on there, just add a column. And it's very easy that after the fact, because I actually did this after the fact, I kind of had this spreadsheet going already. I was like, well, I want to make it searchable. So I just added in a column and just tagged everything. So it was actually really easy to scale. So then actually getting it to display on the website, Wix has these little boxes called repeaters. So a repeater is basically just a thing that is linked to that spreadsheet that shows every line in the spreadsheet, but you get to design it so it's actually pretty and so you don't have to stare at a spreadsheet. So I basically took each worksheet. I said like, oh, I want it in this little green box. So I just made a little green box. I said, here is where the thumbnail is going to go. Here's where the title of the worksheet is going to go. Click on this button. That's where I want to download. So I put it in very generic terms of, I just said like, link this to this column, this to that column. And then this repeater just automatically makes all of the worksheets laid out. Like I don't have to go in and make new visual items for everything, which is big for me, especially when you're trying to compile a lot of worksheets. So, and it's very easy if I want to add a new worksheet, I do not have to do any more web design. I can actually just come in here and add a new line, add all my traits, and then it will actually just automatically go onto the website. So no one has to like publish the website, go through all that mess. You just edit this spreadsheet and that's it. So that I felt like was like, oh, this is so easy to scale, add new things, because that is one of the points is to add new things. So let's see, that kind of brings us back to that's really my whole project right there is the worksheets and the online repository. So that is bee-based educational resources for grades K through 2. And I just wanted to loop in. I've gotten a little bit of feedback because I just kind of like launched this in the fall and started handing it out. And I've had 102 site visits, and this is really since I've had the worksheet site up, but I haven't had a chance to really send the website itself, that portion of it, to teachers. So I'm going to start linking that in my like after class stuff of like, hey, if you want more worksheets, check this place out. What I have been doing is emailing the worksheets like after the fact, say like, hey, if you have any feedback on my lessons, on my worksheet, here's some worksheets related to the presentation that I just did. And I have sent the worksheets out to about 43 classrooms so far that I have been in touch with since September of this year. So that's really only in the last like 2 months. It's been sent out to 43 classrooms. We have received phenomenal feedback from our teachers. So in particular, here's one from a school in Daly City. One of the teachers was saying, we use a social emotional learning approach in our school, and we have monthly character traits. This reinforced the main ideas and presented them in a way that they can learn both about bees and SEL. So the teachers are really liking this because they're getting a special presentation that they couldn't give, but it's reinforcing what they're already doing in the classroom. And every time that happens, I see teachers' faces light up. Like when they see their kids count by tens, like actually use things that they have been teaching in their classroom and applying it to a bee-based lesson, they love that. And it is good overall because we're creating an educational mesh network to support the students and introduce all of the topics in a variety of different ways, which some kid is going to have their interest sparked by bees, maybe like how I was as a first grader, and then end up being the next like bee researcher, entomologist, something that could be sparked by one of these things. So for future development on this, because everything's an ongoing project, obviously I'd like to collect and create more worksheets. I'd like to find a better way on the website to like bundle the worksheets with multiple levels so they aren't just like, here's the same worksheet a bunch of times, which is kind of what mine does right now. So I think a little more design work could be done to make that flow a little bit better, but it works at this point. And then I'd also like to refine the display as the collection grows. So to kind of make it easier to like spin through those thumbnails. So let's see, that is the end of my bee-based educational resources for grades K through 2, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. Thank you for sharing this great website. The website itself is sagerfamilyfarm.com.
Yes, so it's sagerfamilyfarm.com, and let's see, I think I can pop it up over here. So my website is sagerfamilyfarm.com, and in particular, it is, I've got like a worksheets tab.
Great, great.
Yeah, and it's under, I think, my educational drop down. So if you go to like education, worksheets, and activities, that'll bring you right to where that is. And
terrific.
Let's see if I can make this a little bit smaller so we can see it. But that's kind of, this is it in action, is that if we wanted to see bees, and let's see, let's go for first grade. So it's bringing up some of the character trait ones, like Pollinator Bingo is still great for first grade, even though I kind of like geared it at kindergarten. They could start to do pollinator plant lists, so it might not be at the same level as second grade, but that's what I've got going right now.
Wow. Well, on behalf of the California Master Beekeeper Program, we are honored and excited to commend you for everything that you've done and to welcome you to the master level of this program. Thank you for a great capstone.
Yay, well, thank you. My